Hello and good evening. It is Tuesday evening as usual, and welcome to the Sparkle Hour with Chris and Kellyanne. And today our guest is Dean Anderson from the States. I think in Texas, aren't you? Right?
I am. I'm in
In
Austin, Texas.
Austin. Yeehaw! I had to do it. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. We get it all the time. I'm not from here, which makes it even funnier because I'm from Boston, Massachusetts originally.
Oh, that is a lovely city. I love Boston. I mean, seriously,
I miss it. I just don't miss shoveling snow.
Oh God, yeah, I can imagine. You see, but we put some snow around our Christmas tree here on the side there to me.
Right.
We in Christmas decoration already. But unfortunately, the jingle, guys, is still not Christmas. But I promise you, next week I'm going to have the Christmas jingle because Kellyanne keeps rolling out. So before we go into the interview, just let's run the jingle, and I'll see you all in a minute if I ever find the jingle. That's always the same thing because I have so many videos by now, Kellyanne. It's not even funny anymore. I have like too many of them. Which one is now the normal one? I don't even know. It's gone. I did. Maybe I'm blind. Oh, here we go. Intro video. There. Back.
That's a good intro. I like that.
I'm a geek, I tell you that.
You love it. You love it.
Yeah, I said I'm a geek. I actually do. I do all these things. I do videos and things like that. So I like doing these things. So yeah, and I have a problem actually. I don't even know if I can find such an upbeat song for Christmas.
Just you in the background with some little jingle bells. I think that would be
Exactly.
enough.
Well, I mean, see, I'm already growing Father Christmas years, so you know
Mine's coming out great too, so don't worry about
getting
it.
so great. It's ridiculous. In the last 2 years, it just really turned from black into gray. I was like, okay, fair enough. That's how it is. Dean, a pleasure to have you here today. Dean, I know from the Success Alliance of the Go Giver. Callie, and my lovely partner in crime. To give you some idea of Kellyanne, if you don't know what Kellyanne does, Kellyanne is by trade a nurse with the military, major. There we go.
All right.
A major, actually. And but beside of that one, she is as well a holistic coach and really focusing more and more on her coaching business. And the goal, obviously, for her as well is to leave her the military. I can see her eyes. What she might get deployed in 2 days, the poor lady. We're really sorry about to hear that. Yeah, and it's like, then I will be sitting here the next week alone with Matthew, which would be already fun because we are working as well. But Dean, you have such an interesting story, and I want to lead into that one. What do you do? Obviously, I know you're vice president of sales, but that's not what we bring you here today on the show.
You can. You can bring that up too if you want. It doesn't matter to me.
I know you always say, oh, well, everybody wants to talk to me about a few things that happened in your life. I mean, you released a really great book. I have earlier in the announcement have talked about your book a bit. And then obviously you're very, very passionate about addictions and actually being sober. And I really would like to talk about it because it is something that touches me and my own life. I have not had a problem. Well, I had almost had a problem with alcohol really badly. I got the jump out really early. Well, as I say, I was really getting close to where I would have considered myself as an alcoholic, which fortunate enough I did get out. But I had, when I was really young, so in my mid-20s, I was quite severe on a drug addiction. And so, I did it all. the C's, the blue pills, and everything. So I have done it all, and so I fully relate to you, obviously, and understand what it means. Because I know if I would take cocaine today, I know I would go down this loop immediately. And especially with ADHD, for me, actually does the opposite effect, that everybody goes like hyper. I go really calm and I get really focused. And that's just, then I could justify it. And that's probably how I justified it at that time as well, was like, oh, well, it really helps me. But, obviously.
Do you know what, Chris? I have a good friend, and she has recently, as an adult, been diagnosed with ADHD, and she went through a phase of taking cocaine because it leveled her out. So she was the complete opposite when she was taking it. So I completely, I completely get that.
And that was why basically it. That was my excuse. While I was still taking Ritalin at this time, so kind of funny. So then tell me something about your amazing book, and as well, obviously, your journey that you've been through.
Yeah, thank you. It's probably better to start with the sobriety piece of it, because without that, the book never would have come about. The relationship wouldn't have come about. I think I was about 38, 39. I tried the best to hold on to my drinking career, the best I could. And I think I originally started drinking similar to you, but in the reverse. I'm pretty high strung, a little high anxiety maybe when I was younger. And some reason, as soon as I drank alcohol, it just leveled me out, and I think that's what it started. Whatever fears I had, whatever anxieties I had, they just went away. And I just kind of learned to live with it in that sense. Somehow I got through college. Somehow I got through 10 years of a career with the same company I'm with now. But at some point it stops working for you, and it tends to take over. And for me, that's kind of where it went. And nothing good came of it at that point, because there's no fun in it left at that point. You're just basically drinking to survive. And it just kept getting worse and worse. And, they say rock bottom is when you quit digging, but I just kept digging. And I just didn't know how to live with it. And I didn't know how to live without it. So when I finally did get sober, I went into a 12-step program, went into treatment first, and then went into a 12-step program. And I still couldn't do it. Every 3 months, I'd go back out and think I could control it again. And it just proved that I couldn't. And it's a progressive disease where it's never going to get better. It's always going to get worse. At least it's that way for me. And by the time I was done, I was done. I just, I was sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. And at that point I was probably 38 going on 39. And I just decided to hang it up. I got back in the same 12-step program I was in before. And just a bunch of miracles happened. My life completely did a 180, including getting promoted into that position at my job, including meeting the love of my life, including getting back in my kids' lives, even though I was there for them growing up. I wasn't completely present, if that makes sense. I tried the best I could with what I had, but with that disease, boy, you'll just go down. You'll go down fast. And that's kind of what brought up the book. We had the relationship I get in. I also met my wife in recovery. So we both think alike, and we get to a point where the relationship was very easy. Maybe because we were a lot alike. And part of my book talks about that, is that a lot of people get into relationships with opposites because opposites do attract, but do they really last? And for us, we were very similar. So you would think from the get-go that might be a contrast, but it's really not. We kind of know how each other think, and we had a lot of similarities and mutual interests. So we just started dating, and it seemed like it was meant to be, without sounding corny or a soulmate type person. But what was really weird to us is we started getting feedback from people asking what we have, and that it looked genuine, and they wanted to know what made it genuine, or was it actually real? Because sometimes social media can be full of shit a little bit, right? And that you don't know if you're putting on an act or whatever. But I mean, what you saw is what you got with us. So we kept getting these messages from people we didn't even know, sometimes on social media, from friends. We saw a couple of relationships break up because they didn't have what we had, which was really weird for us to witness. And when we got married, it just kind of continued. And a family friend of mine came to me and said, why don't you write something? And I'm not a writer, so I didn't really think about it, but I wrote down 12 chapters that I thought I could, bring some text to, and some information and some knowledge to transfer to some people who were looking to either get into a good relationship or maybe get out of a bad one. And that's where it went. And I wrote it in about a year. Each chapter, I had 12 chapters. I wrote a chapter per month. And by the time I was done, it was kind of a finished thing. I had my wife look at it, and she said, I think it looks pretty good. It could probably help some people. And it was never about money or anything. We just wanted to put it out there out of people's requests. And the feedback was really good. It was really positive. That it was a really short book. And at the end of each chapter, it has questions that you can kind of apply to your own life. Because like you, Chris, I'm kind of like, I maybe retain 2% of what I read in life, right? But if you ask questions at the end of each chapter, it makes people apply it to their real life. And it makes them think about what relationship they're in or the lack of a relationship they're in. And they can find out, honestly, whether they're the problem or not, because once you have 7 or 8 bad relationships, you got to look in the mirror and decide whether it's you, you or not, or whether it is the people that you're picking to date or have a relationship with. So that's kind of where that was created. And now it's been almost 9 years. This February will be 9 years sober. And it's been a whirlwind. I mean, I couldn't, if you asked me in the first year of my sobriety to write down what I wanted out of recovery, I would have sold myself really short out of what I got out of it. And it just keeps getting better. And I mean that not to sell it. It's a reality. If you could have seen me 10 years ago, I looked different. I sounded different. And I was just spiritually bankrupt at the time. And completely, it's a 180 now.
Congratulations, mate.
Amazing.
What a powerful story actually here. And I mean,
Thank
this is, I just got a message here from one of my clients actually. You see, they said like, and, hi there.
I see the comments going. That's awesome.
Yes. And it's just really, really great because, I mean, and this is what it's all about. Getting your act together at some stage, and you don't, and we do a lot. Kelly and I, we do a lot of coaching, and so you put a really interesting point there. It's like sometimes when you start, you don't even see where you're going, and that's
Right.
what I like in my book. I use the story of the Wizard of Oz. Basically, go down your yellow brick road and to your Oz, and that's how my book, which I just released 2 days ago, which is actually where it's going. And it's exactly what I mean. Sometimes you don't see where you're going with it, but obviously, in your decor value, it's better for you, obviously.
Right.
And I can even relate to even as a partner, because I was married. I don't make a story about it. I'm bisexual, pansexual. So I was married to a woman, was married to a man. And my ex-husband, he was an alcoholic, literally an alcoholic. And I had been putting up for 3 years with it on a daily basis. And it was destroying me because I could not get through to him. And then he stopped and then he realized, because when we really had an intervention with him, and then he realized that something was going on, and he stopped like for 3-4 weeks, and he literally stopped, and then he started again. It was just a glass of wine, and then it went to where it was over. And it was so bad. And that's when I walked out on him. Was like, we had our 3rd-year marriage anniversary on that day, and I had my friends. That was my personal, she was my witness, with his brother, that was his witness on the wedding, and their partner. And I haven't met the partner of my best friend that was my witness. She just met a new guy, and she said, oh, can I bring him with me? And I said, sure, fair enough. So they came. So it was the first evening I met them. So we'd sitting at dinner at home, and he literally poured down 2 bottles of wine while having dinner. And then right after dinner, before dessert, he started with his brother to drink JD Coke. And it got so bad that he got up, went to the bathroom, came out of the bathroom, and undressed. And I really mean undressed completely to the
It's not
nothing.
funny. It's just,
it's
what we do.
Dropped on the sofa. Didn't care. And
Right.
I was so embarrassed in front of everybody. And I said, then I looked at his brother and his wife. I said, listen, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. He is destroying my life on top of it. As I say, I have full understanding with addictions because I went through that myself in faith. But there's a limit where you as a partner, you can't even help anymore. Because unless you realize, as you did, something is wrong here. And
2 things about it too. I think, the gentleman you're talking about, your partner or past partner, like, had he gone into a program, no matter what that program was, and was able to get into recovery and get sober, he might have been one of the most genuine, nicest people you could ever meet.
When he was not
right.
drunk, that's why I married him. That's the
right.
reason.
Especially if you know them before that disease really kicked in or became progressive. And what I've noticed, at least for me, I can't speak for other people, but for me, I could not have I could not have corrected necessarily the relationship I was in prior, because I was divorced in 2011, 2 years before I got sober. That was not an amicable thing anyway, but I admire anybody that stays with somebody in a marriage like that and is able to work through that. I really don't know how that happens, because so much damage is done that both become, even, the partner that's not drinking becomes neurotic because of the person with the alcohol problem. So, I mean, hats off to anybody who does that. For me, the only way I could have ended up in a relationship as healthy as I am now was not only with somebody new while I was sober, but for me, I had to be with somebody that was also in recovery, because they're the only ones who get my alcoholic mind, and that's not for everybody, but it was for me. And I think that's why I find such peace in it, because if I'm having an off day, if I'm running a good program, I'm usually fine. But if something gets under my skin, nothing to do with her or anything like that, she knows where my brain's going, and she knows I need to work through it personally, because that's about me. That's not about her. I think what we did in the past is we took whatever insecurities, whatever we were dealing with, and you pour enough alcohol on top of that, and it comes out sideways on the wrong person sometimes. So it's not an excuse. It's just the way it is. And I think now that I'm in recovery now, it's all in that book. My book's about, it's got 12 chapters, but you break it all down. It's about communication and how badly alcoholics communicate, because we're just such manipulators and liars. No, we didn't start out like that in life. We weren't raised like that. It just, we were covering our own asses all the time. So it was one of those things where it became a habit to lie so frequently that you didn't even know you were lying half the time, and then when you get into recovery, one of the principles you learn is the first one is honesty, and you got to be honest about everything. And that is not an overnight task, and even I'm talking about lies of omission, like, everything. Just be genuine, be authentic, be transparent, and be honest. And once you can do that with another human being in a relationship, you can almost work through anything. And really, you don't have much to work through, because you're being honest all the time. It's not like you're blindsiding anybody with anything.
That's the point, because authenticity is
Sure.
It's what it's all about. And I get what you're saying. It's like, it's very difficult to mend a relationship that has been broken and abused by, I always called it the third thing in our relationship, which was the alcohol, basically. And as you said, it's so funny when I look back, you really hit a core point with me there, because what he was the most genuine, most kindest person when he didn't have any alcohol in his body. But as soon there were the first 2 glasses, that was it. It went down the road, right? And I tried so hard to fix him, and I tried so hard to support him. It was between support, anger, everything. You go through all the emotions, actually. And the funny thing was, he couldn't even remember anything the next day, what happened.
No, by the end of my drinking, it was complete blackout drinking, and you don't know it because you're basically mobile and talking, but you may even be sincere with what you're saying, but you won't remember it the next day. And, I'm one of those alcoholics that I was constantly trying to fix other people without taking a look at myself, so it's an interesting thing, because we're kind of control freaks. And it's weird, because in most areas of my life, or any alcoholic's life, they can usually control most of it, but for some reason, that's the one thing that they cannot control. That once you put an ounce of it in their system, it's off to the races, and it goes downhill quickly when you're deep in that disease. And it's baffling. And I think that's why it takes some of us so long to quit, because we really do think that next time is going to be different. And it never is, especially with me, when it was actually rather fun in my youth. I drank for every other reason. I didn't drink it. I never drank because I was depressed or hurt or anything like that. I drank because I liked the effect. But the older I got, I would start drinking for the wrong reasons. And then you just take whatever emotions balled up in you and you pour alcohol on top of it and you become a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
What was it that sort of clicked in you in the end then, Dean? Was it like, did you hit a crisis point, or did you have to go down that sort of road of self-honesty? Because it's usually one or the other, isn't it?
Mine was a combination of two things. One, the doctor told me my liver, I probably had 6 months to go drinking the way I was. So I knew that was, and the weird thing about an alcoholic is death doesn't necessarily make you stop. And I don't know why that is. You know, it's one of those things where none of us have the courage to necessarily take ourselves out, but we don't care if we wake up the next day. So that was a constant threat I had in my head. But very, you know, I told you I had like 3 months here and like 6 months here, but this last time I got sober, my youngest daughter had come to me, and I'll leave out most of the details, but she was in a situation where she really needed me, and she needed to come live with me and be her primary custody. And you know, if you believe in God or whatever you believe in, at that point, it was like something was saying to me, now you can't drink. And I was in that situation where there was no turning back. I had to, if I wanted to get my daughter to come live with me, I wanted her to be safe. I wanted her to be in a situation where she felt safe. I had to do what I had to do. And that, maybe that was just the catalyst. Cause if you went through the whole timeline with me, there was 20 different things that happened for some reason on this time where it was like, all right, this is the time you need to get sober. Everything from selling an old home and moving into this house that I'm in now, where there were just so many demons in that place. Like maybe I created those demons. I don't know, but they were there. And they say not to make a geographic change just to quit drinking, because wherever you go, there you are. Right. But when I got here, it was like a fresh start. So it was a bunch of combination of things. And my daughter was one of the biggest catalysts to that.
That's awesome.
You must be very proud of yourself as well. How do you feel about it?
It's a weird thing, right? Because pride's one of those things where it's like somebody telling, it's humorous because somebody says congratulations or I'm proud of you, but it's like on a humorous note, I appreciate when people say that, but in my head, I'm also saying, well, people are congratulating you for doing what you should have been doing the last 25 years. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I appreciate it. And I am proud now. I think it's one of those moments where it was a life or death situation and I chose life. And I don't know why I did why I did not choose that the 2 years prior to that leading up to it. But everybody's got a different journey. That's just what mine was.
Well, I mean, it's like, see, I'm a smoker, right? I quit smoking about a year ago, whatever, or not 2 years ago. And then I didn't smoke for a year. And then obviously pandemic hit and everything. So I smoked back. And, you know, a lot of people would like smokers. It's an addiction, and people don't understand that it's an addiction because it's all obviously a mental thing. And obviously we as coaches, we talk about a lot about limiting beliefs and loops that we create in our own brain. We actually do these neural pathways that we create. And it's like what you said, procrastinating. We all know that we're procrastinating. We all know that. And it's not logic because we want to do the thing and we're not doing it because it's not having nothing to do with logic. It's actually how do we feel about things, and mostly it's fear. So we have these, or fear or discomfort of doing something that we need to do. And so that's why it's kind of in an addiction as well, where you procrastinate, where you have a certain fear of losing something. It might be the fear of loss, actually, of losing something that is such a such a close friend to you, actually, and gives you these motions that you want to have. So obviously I look at these things, what our brains, I'm fascinated because the last 40 years I have studied our brain. I told you earlier before the show, I have ADHD and I got diagnosed. So I got really involved in studying how our interior of the brain works and why we do the things that we do. So, and obviously I looked at addiction as well. So for me, like this right now, I'm smoking at the moment, actually. And I'm back at this thing. I know I can, and that's the funny thing, Dean, I can quit smoking from a day to another, and I can.
Right.
And I've done it, and I've done it several times. It's so easy. I just stop. And it's not even the next day that I need, because I know how to tap into that, how to switch this fear that I have to my advantage. And then sometimes I think, like, why don't I do that? Because I know it all. And Kelly and I were talking so many times about how we as coaches, we know how to manifest the right way, how to cut through our limiting beliefs. But when it comes to ourselves, it's always another issue, because that is the thing. It's very good to give that as an advice to a client, and
Right.
Giving them the tactics. And we know that tactics work, but then when it comes down to yourself, you're not doing it yourself. And I think that's the same with any addiction as well. It's like, you see it, you know it, it's all good, you're fully aware of it, but you don't take the step.
Yeah,
And
in recovery, it's weird, because if we work with other people who are trying to get sober, we kind of have to walk the walk, because otherwise they think, well, this guy's either full of crap, or it's not really working, or whatever. So we try our best to be as genuine in that case. If I'm going to make somebody do something, I better do it myself. You know what I mean? And usually they'll follow and realize you're genuine about it. And cigarettes, my God, I smoked for, I guess 25 years. When I first got sober, everybody that was in recovery said, don't quit smoking yet. I know the doctor probably tells you to, but you quitting those two big vices at once, you won't make it. So I waited 2 years. I haven't smoked a cigarette since 2015, but and that was mainly because I had high blood pressure. Like I wasn't convinced that it was giving me just so stubborn. That it was giving me high blood pressure. And then the doctor told me, he's like, I'm going to put you on medication unless you try to quit. And I'm like, well, you'll see. It's got nothing to do with cigarettes. And then like 45 days in, I'm 120 over 80 and it's working. Right. But I say to my wife all the time, like, to this day, I do not miss alcohol. I guess I'm in some ways grateful that I had the fun years I did with it. I'm not so grateful for the maybe 5 or 10 years that were a little bit damaging, but I'm grateful in the sense that I could pass that story on to somebody else and they could learn from it and hopefully avoid the mistakes I made. But cigarettes, I miss them every single day. Like it's one of those, it's not like alcohol to me, even though it was easier to quit cigarettes than it was alcohol. And I don't know why that is. Personal experience. I have no idea why that is, but
decision.
I think about every cup of coffee that comes my way. Every time I walk out in cold weather, it brings back 25 years of having it in my hand. It's a fixation that doesn't go away. Maybe it will, but it's been 6 years and I still think about it on a daily basis.
There's still a limiting belief sitting there. You need to fully realize they're an addiction. But we can talk about that another time. That's really
I think it was more of an addiction. Like alcohol is a funny thing. Like it's a mental and a physical, but you can get rid of it. You can stop drinking for like your partner did for, let's say, 4 weeks, right? And your body doesn't feel that addiction, but then your mind starts to spin. And my wife always says, we've got a brain that wants to kill our body, because the brain will convince you that you can have another drink. And then you do, and then you caught up in the physical addiction again. It's a massive trap that just never ends unless you just get in a program or just, come to grips with the fact that you need to surrender to a new solution rather than booze.
But cigarettes are the same, basically. Actually, the physical withdrawal of cigarettes is over within 11 hours, actually.
Really?
Yes. It's all mental. It's all a mental thing. It's a loop thing. Here it's like, okay, Diane, when I'm speaking to Chris and he lights up, I really want to sing. See?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Diane. I'm sorry, but you see, I'm going to quit. This is my big goal for 2022. I'm going to quit now, finally, completely. I don't even like them anymore. It's kind of funny. I don't actually like them anymore. I even have the taste is not right anymore to me. So it's like, this is how messed up it is in the brain. But as I said, I had a bit of trauma moment this year where the pandemic all happened. I went into a trauma situation, and that's when I started again. And so I actually said to myself, "Oh, Kellyanne would just went and zoop, gone. She's going to come back for sure." Where I said, "Listen, it's okay." And I talked to my doctor about it. She's like, let's deal with the trauma first. We deal with the cigarettes later. And I think it made sense. It made sense.
It does.
You can't deal with both of it at the same time. So tell us a bit about your case. She actually sent me a message, so I have to look because something happened. Probably either her phone died. This is the dean. It's actually a joke. It's an internal joke here. Every week something on the show happens. It's not normal. It's not. We cannot manage one single show You know voice. Nope, she hasn't. That wasn't even her. Oh, that she's back. See,
My
Kellyanne.
sound
I was
went.
just telling Dean, this would not be us if
No.
everything would go smooth.
Yeah, I could hear everything, and then all of a sudden it was just silent, and then some music started playing. I was like, "What is happening here?"
I had to actually move to a different area in my house. Like, if for whatever reason, my office would not. Like, it's perfect where I'm sitting, so I'm not going to move. I don't even dare move left or right now, and something's going to go wrong.
Don't breathe.
Don't breathe. So tell me a little bit about your steps. That I love the title. Anyway, was that a red flag? Actually, I love that because it's like, was there a red flag saying here is going wrong? So
I really feel like they're not in every relationship. I mean, you can get into, maybe you're lucky, you get in the best relationship from the get-go. You got your high school sweetheart or something. I don't know. But for me, I think I always tried to be with people that were the opposite. And I brought that up before because that's one of the first chapters in the book, because it balanced me out. Now, keep in mind, I was kind of a party guy, and I drank heavy when I was young too, even in high school. And I just wanted somebody that was stable, right? Somebody that was like, would calm me down, would get me home or whatever, like I was kind of a wild child. So that worked, but it only worked for so long till they got fed up with my crap or the personalities just completely clashed. Right. For me, it's weird because I ended up with a person that was also an alcoholic. So I don't know how. I think if we met when we were young, it would not have, it would have been a train wreck. But I think if I had gone back in time, I probably would have dated people that were more like thinking, not the alcohol part, but just more of a personality that was similar to mine, right? And there's all kinds of different red flags. I feel like the communication, how people communicate with each other, always seems to be way off. And you can be different, but as long as you're honest and you're transparent, and that's been the cornerstone of, I think, of our relationship. But I think this should be stuff that you have for mutual interest that you do, like. We figured out shortly after we started dating that we both love hiking. We love being outdoors. We love being in nature. And that was a real bonding thing where everything we decided we wanted to do together, we really like to do together. And we hadn't done with anybody in our past relationships. And I think we almost have to urge each other on to do things that either make us grow or maybe go back into something that we were doing in a past life that we really loved and we gave up due to all the pressures and things that come with life. And I say that because my wife now, we first started dating, she had told me she used to roller skate all the time when she was a kid. And I just asked why she didn't do it anymore. And she just said, well, we're older now, and and she just didn't seem like she was up for getting back into it. And now, so I just, about 3 months later, bought her a pair of roller skates as a gift, and just kind of like, I would say forced it on her, but like put them in front of, like, now you have to skate. And she, I probably created a monster because now she skates all the time. But I think that's one of those things that we need to push each other to be better people and to have a life full of abundance and do stuff together and individually that makes us grow. And if you don't believe in your partner getting better in life, both, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, things tend to go two different ways and you end up living two different lives. And I've had that in relationships before where you have some commonality, but like you're almost two different people living in a house, just passing each other in the hallway. So there's got to be a bunch of mutual interest in there somewhere. And if you don't have them, maybe that's a red flag, right? I also think stupid things. I mean, you wouldn't think they're stupid, but they are stupid. Like things like politics or religion. Like if you're opposite end of the spectrum, like you grew up Catholic and somebody, and you date somebody that's Baptist or whatever, like you wouldn't think that would have a major impact. It has a massive impact, and be it your background, because that could have a huge impact on someone's relationship and how they think. Whether it's about God or whether they're Buddhist or whatever, it's completely different perspective on life. And if you're that far off of each other, you're gonna butt heads, even down to politics. Politics drive me crazy, especially in the last, couple of years. But I just feel like if you're on one end of the spectrum politically or religiously, and the other person's on the opposite end, you just go further down that spectrum, further down that side, right? And you start to isolate and only become friends with people who think like you. And if you don't have an open mind, which my wife and I, thank God, had a very open mind, because I'm not sure we knew what we believed in when we came together. And then we don't have the exact same beliefs when it comes to, God or spirituality, but they're pretty similar, and we respect what each other believes. We don't argue with each other over what we should believe in. And I think that's just such a massive headache with certain relationships. And it seems like that shouldn't kill it, but it seems like it does. So I figure if you see that stuff early on, run for the hills, get out, as far as I'm concerned. People probably give me a lot of crap because I don't mind people getting divorced. Like if you're in a bad marriage, I don't see why you have to correct that or write it. Maybe you made a mistake. I look at it like when people have kids, right? And you end up having kids with a partner that maybe wasn't the best match, but then your relationship looks not so great. You're giving the wrong impression to your kids of what a relationship's supposed to look like. Aren't you better off getting divorced and either being a fantastic single parent, which is cool too, or if you meet somebody else, you get to show them what a relationship's supposed to look like. People get too hung up on, in my opinion, I'll probably get crucified for saying that, but people about getting divorced, you deserve better maybe, or they deserve better. I'm not just talking about me personally. Like maybe I'm dragging that other person down and we're not a good match. They deserve to get out, And I just think, I don't know, this life's too short. Go find somebody that makes you happy and you want to do the same things together and grow old together, right? Instead of just arguing every day. Like it seems so ridiculous that people still do that. I did it, so I'm being judgmental, but I had to correct it.
No, but you're absolutely right. I fully believe the same thing, because I'm not even looking for a relationship after that last marriage, because one, I always end up, and I can look in all my past relationships, it doesn't matter marriage or relationships actually, I always got the person that was driving me insane from the beginning. And it's like I almost question myself, what's wrong with me? Because why do I attract these people, or why do I even accept these things from the people? And number two, you see, and I fully get that where you say it's like if you're completely on the opposite of the spectrum, that is not working. As they always say, well, opposition attracts each other. I don't believe that, because doesn't work. And when it comes down to children in relationship, because I do have two children, they're grown now, but there was my ex-wife and they're still in the cult, so obviously I don't have contact to them.
I love how you just dropped that one in there, Chris.
Yeah, well, he gave me
he
gave me a little bit of it up front, so I knew where he was coming.
Yeah, they were in there. They're still in the cult. So, but the point here is actually what I'm saying is like I see so many times where, and I mean, I even had clients where, look now, they turned out to be gay, or actually had tendencies gay, but they got married, they have children, they stay 20 years in the relationship, and then they say to me, and it's like, yeah, but the kids are grown. No, I think like, and I said, so that basically you lied to yourself, to your wife, you cheated on your wife properly on a daily or weekly basis at least, and you did all that, and now you're coming out and you're wondering why the entire family goes like, what the F is happening here? But you lied to them their entire bloody life. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I mean, I'm very, and Karen knows was one of the most direct people probably that you can ever meet. I just say how I see things, right? I'm like, and that is my big problem here in the UK, because I can't sugarcoat things or fluff up things here. I'm always like, bumps, right with the hammer, right? But at least I'm honest to it. And that's probably the only good thing that I learned in the cult is not to lie, because you're not supposed, it's one of the biggest crimes. You don't lie. So, well, they do lie interiorly, but they're supposed not to do that, right? So, and the funny thing about it is actually, I've always been very blunt with people. Now, a lot of people cannot deal with that. I cannot deal with this political correctness and then turning around and then gossiping about you in the back, which doesn't make any sense to me, because that's for me false, and that is really what I don't get. So I always find that honesty sets you free. If you believe in God, well, honesty will set you free here, and that's I think what it is. And it's really great that you bring that up, because I don't understand how people can stay in a relationship for whatever reason. If it's for the money, for the children, for whatever reason, if you are unhappy, as I said, I tried 3 years with an alcoholic, and I'm sorry, I was losing myself in the relationship, literally losing myself as a personality. And I said, that cannot be it. I cannot sit here and apologize to my friends for his behavior. I've been doing that too long now. And actually, why I did even do it, I'm even surprised that I stayed there 3 years, to be very honest. That I even married him. That would just, it still doesn't get into my head why I did. But
for me, it was weird because I think alcoholics are like one of the weirdest people when it comes to, we could be, as they always say, you could be laying down in a gutter and we could still look down our nose at you for some reason because we're constantly judging because we're covering up our own, issues and insecurities, whatever. But I think I was always trying to fix people for whatever reason. I don't know if it was try to cover up how messed up I was, but I never turned the mirror to myself for many years. Because on the outside, I would have looked fairly successful, I guess. I mean, had kids, house and job and all that, never lost my job or anything. I probably should have 1,000 times over, but I don't know. It was about appearances, and I just got to the point where I was living an absolute lie. I mean, it was like a Jekyll and Hyde, like if anybody had saw what I did inside my house or what I acted like, they wouldn't believe it. It's kind of hard. Like it was very strange when I got sober. A lot of people came to me and said, "We knew you drank heavy, but we didn't know it had gotten to that point." And I was like, I was basically living in my own little world at that point, And I don't know why I don't know why why certain people stay in relationships if it's that torturous. Usually you just nailed 3 things all at once: kids, money, those 2 in particular. Some sort of fear of losing something, like you pointed out before. Those are the main factors, at least for me, that kept me from getting out of a relationship I probably should have gotten out of. Even if I was the problem, I should have done her some justice and got out of it too, I suppose. But I don't know. It's usually a fear of losing something. And for me, it was fear of losing quite a few things, including my children. Because it's, you're an alcoholic. You don't exactly get custody of your kids very quickly.
No.
That's a tough battle.
The judge has mostly another vision on it.
Right. I will say in America, they're very not sympathetic, a little bit to a point. They definitely have a little bit of sympathy for somebody who's in a program, somebody who's in a recovery program. They'll look at you different. If you've been in it for a while and you're serious about it.
You're lucky they didn't meet my mother. She was a justice, so
you got some family history.
You wouldn't have gotten any closer from her. She would have done.
Yeah, she thrown me away. Yeah, maybe she should have. I don't know. At that stage, I would think I was pretty messed up.
I mean, I look at my parents and so they sat me down. I mean, they've been married for what, 44 years, I think, coming up 45. And they sat me and my brother down. I was 12 and they told us they were getting divorced. I literally spent the next 3 years of my life having to sleep in my mum's bed with her so my dad could have my bedroom. And, it was a horrible time and it was loads of aggression in the house. And it's weird that I look at them now and they're still together, but they do. I hope she doesn't watch this. They do lead very separate lives. It's weird.
Right.
It is weird for me to see. But then I wonder whether she's like that because my nan, her mother, walked out on her dad when she got married. So my mum got married and my nan left my granddad because she'd been waiting for my mum to grow up and get married. And she's never forgiven her for it. And I do wonder whether that's partly her reason for staying, because she probably thinks, this is how I felt when this happened. It's a bit of a weird one.
This is certainly a generational thing anyway. My parents are still together 50 something years now. They'll admittedly say they're not a perfect match, but they're a pretty good match, but they're definitely different. I think of that generation, they stuck with it, man. They'll battle it out and they'll stay together for the rest of time. And when I say that too, I don't mean to say that we should all just, willy-nilly get divorced now, but it should, the change should be on the front end, meaning don't get into that. What we do now is we jump into relationships so fast and get married so fast. That's the part that I think needs to change. Put a little thought into it before you do it. And if there's a red flag, don't ignore it. You might be the red flag. I was probably a walking red flag half the time in my past, but just avoid having to make a choice like your mom probably should have made years ago, but they're going to stick it out. And is she happy? I don't know.
I mean, she says she is, but I think she's got a friend rather than a marriage, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think I've seen a lot of those happen, and they're content. It's not what you should get out of life in the last 20 years of your life, or however old your mom is, whatever. But it's doable. It's just not the life I want, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
I think we all deserve more than that.
Yeah, definitely.
But like you were saying, Chris, I'd like for you, like, you're not looking for a relationship, right? That's, to me, is when you find it, it'll be something really weird that smacks you in the face. Could be 2 years from now. But for me, it was when I stopped looking, or when I just figured, I remember at one point, and my wife was the same way. We said, you know what? I'm pretty good. Like, I was comfortable in my own skin at that point. I'd gotten sober. I'd moved into a new house. I was content in my own skin. Yeah. And I think when you get to that point, maybe you look more attractive. Shit, I don't know. But I think that you feel better, you know, and if you stop looking, that desperation just falls off of you. And then you tend to look, maybe at that point in time, you're seeing with more clarity. So you start looking for people that are more authentic rather than some look you have, or, you know, some person, you know, something that you went after as a young guy or girl. And now you're looking for a true person, you'll see the beauty within rather than just the beauty outside, you know? I don't know.
But you see, you actually said I'm a walking red flag myself, because I know.
At least you admit it.
I know. I never like to sleep with my partner, whatever, woman or man, in the same bed. It's a nightmare for me. But that comes from my childhood trauma. That comes from why I have CPTSD. I don't like people getting close to me. I have a lot of issues on these things. So I do not see even that it would be fair on any other person, actually, because I'm not, you see, and then they just recently, they just came to the fantastic idea, and I talked to you earlier, it's like they see me in the autism spectrum, and they actually think there is quite a bit of that one. And so that makes sense to me. And now, after looking at it and looking at the things, why I'm like this, why I don't like to be close to people and everything, it's quite funny. I don't think it's good for me. I'm really content with myself. I'm content. It doesn't matter. We talked about, I think I said it once on one of the shows we talked about, I said, like, you know, if I want to have sexual relationship with somebody, well, that's easy. I mean, there is Grindr, Tinder, whatever you call them all. Yeah, you can actually get all those things, and you can actually resolve that problem in 2 minutes, right? But that's not. But that's not what we're about. And actually, it's like, and for a relationship, I don't see that I can commit to it. I don't think I can actually even let a person in, because I'm completely emotionless on these things. Like, this comes out in my way, how I talk to people, where I said earlier, and I made funny, I offend people because I'm very blunt, but it's because I don't have the emotional filter. I don't even, neither good or bad, I don't have the emotional filter. For me, it's just like how I say it, end of story, right? So this is how I say it. It's factual, and that's how I reflect on it. But obviously, I do hurt people around me with that, which is a lot of stigmas, right? Going on. Like, one part of my book, I don't care if I'd looked already, it's about the F word, right? So how the F word is completely, we have a misconception of the F word. And actually, I'll educate you on the F word, where it actually came from. That it came from German. It's German road, it's a domestic road. It has nothing to do with what we use it for today, but it's quite funny, actually, how I go through that. Here's my ADHD rabbit hole. I go into the deepest research. Into 1582 I went, actually. So here you go. I figured out where it came from. Anyway, so, and it's kind of funny how I say that, but people get offended by when I say it. And I'm like, I don't get it. So I sit there, I don't get it.
You mean just the F word in general?
No, in the F word in general, anything. As I said, how I say things certainly is like, I'm writing in the book is what we're talking about Well, I got called in by my manager, and she said, well, you're here in the UK, you need to fluff up things. You need to sugarcoat things. And what happened actually was I made a crew member on board an aircraft cry during the service because everybody was working and she was sitting on the chair and eating a sandwich. So I said, you're not really interested in your job or motivated, are you? And I said, hop, hop, go, because as your manager, I'm telling you to go right now, like this, like somehow like this, right? And she just looked at me and started crying. So anyway, she filed a complaint, blah, 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 and everything. So I got called in by my manager. And it's like, where here in the UK, you can't be that direct and everything. And I was like, okay. And that's how I responded. And I'm not joking. And I went like, okay, I have to sugarcoat, I have to fluff it up. I said, so how do you sugarcoat you lazy? And
I don't have an answer for that.
You see, that's the point. And that's actually, and she just like said, see, Chris, this is what I mean. And I'm like, what? How do you sugarcoat lazy?
Chris, this is why you like New York and Boston so much.
I love it.
Absolutely no filter where I'm from.
No filter.
And the F word is really part of every other sentence I normally say, but not on a podcast or.
Oh, you can. This is an F safe area here. You can say F. I say F.
Yeah. My mom getting all old. She'll probably see this and get all pissed off because I'm drunk.
No, what are you doing?
That's the reason that I think my wife was attracted to me. Like, it wasn't the accent so much because she's from down here in Texas, but she grew up, her closest friends and family were from Boston. So every time I was dropping the F word or some other vulgarity, it just seemed like she was kind of at home with me. And not that her language is much better than mine, but I think I probably offend certain people because she'll remind me, she's like, we're at like, because we got grandkids, we're like, you're at a kid's playground. You can't like be telling people to fuck off. And I'm just like, well, I was saying it friendly. Usually if I'm dropping F word, it means I like you, So some people don't take it that way. So I got to get used to that. But up north, it's like, it can be used as an adjective, an adverb, a noun, a verb.
Same in the military.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah,
military. Military
punctuation.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. It's just anything you say, if you put the F word in front of it or after it, it's got more power.
Yeah, 100%. I'm right there with you.
More emphasis.
See.
Yeah.
That's why I like Kellyanne, because she gets me. She's one of the few British that gets me. I'm on a mission to change the British culture. But hey, listen, that's going to be a long run.
I don't sugarcoat much.
Nah, I don't either.
It's other people's choice, isn't it? If they want to choose to be offended by something, then it's nothing to do with me. That's what I always think. It's a result of their conditioning.
I don't sugarcoat much in my life. I raised 2 daughters though, and I probably was not the best equipped to do so because I grew up in an all-boy family. But I think I just had to, and I'm not saying I'm good at it because I'm not, but I think that I probably listen better and I'm a little more sensitive to it than I used to be. But it doesn't change how I say it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I'll probably, I don't know, change how I say it, I suppose, but not. It always comes out in some form of sarcasm, which is part of my. I think it's my genetic makeup.
But
it's not a bad thing.
Do you agree? And I always think that's why I justify it as well to myself. It's like, well, if I tell you how I really think, and I'm really blunt with you, at least you know what you're facing. I'm not fake. So you don't think like, he likes me, and then in the back you're like, in the gossip area. Sorry, this is fake. That's for me fake. So at least I can tell you, listen, I don't like you. You're stupid. But no.
I mean, that is brutal, Chris.
but you're stupid. Or you're not as lit as I thought you were. Okay, to be very put it in British way, you're not as lit as I thought you were. So anyway. But that's fine. At least you know what you get from me. Right. There's no question mark anymore left.
No, right? That's why I fell in love with. That's why I fell in love with my wife. I always tell people, I say, if you don't want an honest answer, do not ask her a question.
No,
she's going to tell you.
Good. I probably will get along with your wife because this is like bloody hell. It's like they ask you questions and you answer, and they go like, But then it's for me. This is being on apparently on the autism spectrum. I don't even understand sometimes that they get offended by things like that. It's like, what?
I got to start talking in your accent. It seems like it has more emphasis to like bloody hell, you know. They don't even know what I'm saying.
Exactly. I don't even say. Okay, normally we do it in the beginning of the show, but like today we do it at the end. Do you have your questionnaire, Kellyanne?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We always do a quick round, and at the end of the show, I ask you to
serious.
And at the end of the show, we ask you, like, after we go offline, just to stay for 1 to 2 minutes, so we have a chat afterwards. But anyway, quick question round, really quick: pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Shower or bath?
Shower.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Nightclub or romantic dinner at home?
Romantic dinner at home.
I like your northern accent.
Is she listening? Right? Dog or cat?
Dog. Sorry, I don't like cats. I know it sounds horrible, but
Favorite music?
Oh, rock and roll.
Pina colada or Long Island iced tea?
Well, I can't.
Both actually. What would it have been?
Virgin.
Oh, what was the first one? Oh, first one was pina colada. No, I was a vodka and tonic guy, but I probably would have gone Long Island iced tea because it had more alcohol.
Yeah, probably.
Fair one.
Did you see? Like, I'm stupid. I'm reading the question. I'm like, hang on.
No. That's cool. Hey, no, I mean, hey, I got experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Famous person you'd like to have coffee with and why?
Famous person I'd like to have coffee with. I got to go with Jesus Christ himself. I'm not even a real religious guy, but I got to sit down and talk with that guy and see what it was all about. See what his thoughts are. I got to.
Walking on water.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to witness it myself. I mean, you either believe or you don't, right? But if you get a chance to actually talk to him, come on. I got to take that.
Paris or London?
London.
Okay.
Netflix or a good book?
Wow. If I said book, I'd be lying, even though I love reading. I get sucked into Netflix and I never escape. So I'm going to go with Netflix.
And the final one, chameleon or flamingo?
Chameleon.
Ooh. That's you're gonna say it's like this is our little internal competition that we have between. It's like we equal again, hon. We equal again. We're 4-4. Sorry, it's like because you see. There you go.
And if I couldn't meet Jesus, it's probably Jimi Hendrix. I just got to watch him play one more time while I'm alive and he's alive.
I mean, that's two ends of the spectrum there.
It really is. And that's my life. It's kind of, if you didn't see, because Kellyanne wasn't on yet. In my office, the one that had all the internet problems, there's a gigantic Jimi Hendrix across my back wall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Nobody like him.
But it's quite funny. There are quite a few musicians in the world that actually do that. Like, see, I sometimes I get like almost people look at me really. It's like I like Michael Jackson. I think he was a great artist,
genius.
What he did or what he didn't do, which we still don't really know officially,
right, is
beside the fucking point here. It's just he was still a fucking genius. I mean, seriously. Look at Thriller.
His music will never be replicated. But I mean, it was hard for me when you asked about the rock and roll thing, because I came from such a background of a cool mix. My mom kind of liked the 50s sock hop rock. She loved Elvis Presley. But I was more on my dad's side, who was a combination of Joplin and Hendrix in one side. But he brought me back to just roots of like R&B and Motown. Like I listened to everything from Ray Charles to Sam Cooke to Otis Redding to Wilson Pickett growing up. That was I got through the 80s rock and roll, right? Because that's where I was. And then as I've gotten older and approaching 50 here, I go right back to my dad's music. And that's almost all I listen to now. It's crazy.
I cried for weeks when Bowie died.
No.
Like literally, I remember sitting in the car driving to work and it came on the radio and it's just and they put one of his songs on. And I used to sing Starman to my eldest boy, who's nearly 16 now. He'd be really embarrassed if I did that now. But yeah, I just sat and cried for weeks. Every time I was in the car and a song came on, that would be it. Floodgates would be open. I was a wreck. But that was my mum's influence.
Bowie.
No, that's
we've gone.
Now he's lost. We're in 1 hour. I'm gonna end anyway the broadcast. I don't see. No, Dean froze.
Oh, he's back.
Oh yeah, he's back. You froze for a minute. You moved.
Yeah, don't move.
I did. I froze. You guys with me?
Yes.
Yep, got you back.
Got you. Right.
I'm trying to come back, guys, but it's might freeze
No,
out.
that's fine. Just stay there anyway. We're on the
I
top
shouldn't
of
move,
the hour.
right?
No.
That's right. I moved. I just want to move.
Now he's going completely. Okay, it's like doom. You see, gone.
Oh dear.
I'll take him out right now out of the the thing for a second. Love it. Actually, what a great show actually with him. It was really nice.
Oh, really nice.
Yeah. So I think next week we have Matthew Almore. I'm so looking forward to Matthew. My God, you're gonna love Matthew.
Fingers crossed I'm here.
You are. Don't make it look out here at to stream. You bring you back. Oh, no, yeah, but now it's you. Now it's again. Now you're becoming Dean. No, that's gone. All right, I end the broadcast. Thanks for watching tonight. And if he comes back, we'll have a chat with him. And see you soon. See you next week. Same planet, same hour. And hopefully with Callie and not sitting somewhere in a hospital. Wait, you can still join us from there. You can go like, here I am. I'm just doing vaccinations right now.
Doing my bit for humanity, apparently.
Right, he's back. Okay, let's see. We were saying just goodbye to the world. So thank you very much for being our guest. It was such a pleasure. And you stay online. We're gonna go offline now on the live anyway. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.